Hey there, high level listeners. We have an interesting and somewhat nerve wracking topic for you today: introducing yourself. So, if you want to be able to talk about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do, and how long you've been doing it, and talk about things that interest you in more advanced and commonly spoken English. Plus, you want to get all the grammar right in those situations where you've been living, where you used to live, where you were living, then this will be a great class for you.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome, and thank you for joining us here at High Level Listening. This is our YouTube channel where we give you side-by-side American and British English with me, Mark from the UK, and Kat from the US. So we're excited to bring you another topic which was suggested by a lovely community, which is talking about yourself and introducing yourself. So if someone at work or in a group asks you to tell us a little bit about yourself, you probably know how to use basic English, like my name is or I am from. But today we'll show you how native speakers tend to answer this question, so you can sound more fluent and confident when you answer this sometimes scary question.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes native speakers don't always know what to say for this one. Usually, I don't know why. I don't know why it's so hard to talk about yourself. But to get started with this episode, we have two very similar scripts. One is more my style in American English, and the other is more of Mark's style in British English. While most of the English that we teach you is perfectly fine in both accents, we'll definitely tell you if there's any differences between American and British English.
Yes, so we'll start by reading each of our scripts. Then we'll go back to the start, go through them line by line, explaining the best vocabulary, expressions, and in this case, most of the grammar along the way. So we want you to feel comfortable and confident with your new skills. And if you would like to download a PDF transcript of this entire episode and all of our other episodes as well, you can join us as a High Level Listening member. There's a link on how to join us in the link below. We put out at least 2 new videos and 2 new transcripts every week. So that's hundreds of pages of PDFs waiting for you right now. See the link below. So let's get started. I will ask Kat the main question today. Kat, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, putting me on the spot here. No. Well, I'm Kat. Hi, everybody. I'm originally from Texas, born and raised in Houston. Some of my family still lives there, but I moved away after college. I've worked as a teacher for students learning English as a second language for about 12 years now. Wow, has it really been that long? Funny enough, I actually went to school for marketing all those years ago, but I kind of had a career shift when I realized I was much more passionate about teaching. I've sort of lived all over France, New Zealand, South Korea, and although I used to teach mainly in schools, I've been teaching online for a number of years now. Nowadays, I still teach, but I'm still very much into traveling, cooking, learning new languages, meeting new people, and stuff like that. Okay, enough about me. Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, where do I start? I'm Mark. Hello. I'm from the UK, from a small town just about 40 minutes east of London. I work as an ESL teacher, and I've been doing that since 2012. I still love doing it. It's taken me to so many amazing places, and I've been able to meet a lot of wonderful teachers and students along the way. I'm lucky enough to have spent most of my 20s in Asia and Eastern Europe. I made the jump to online teaching a while ago, and I've been living in Mexico for the last few years, although, of course, I still pop back and visit the UK when I can. In my free time, I like reading, computer games, motorsports, and traveling to new places, which sometimes goes hand in hand. That's about it, really. Okay, so like we promised, we'll go back to the start of our scripts and go through them line by line so you can learn to use the same grammar and phrases when you introduce yourself. So, back to the start, Kat. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Um, okay, putting me on the spot here. No. Okay, well, I'm Kat. Hi, everybody. Now, one of the funniest things about my students is they say, "Oh, Kat, native speakers don't say or ah or. Of course we do. Yes, of course we do. Um, I'm doing it right now. When we don't know what to say and we're not sure about what we want to say next, it is very common to use a filler word. Ah, is kind of a surprised word. Um, is a thinking word. Uh, Maybe not sure about something or you're thinking about how you want to answer it. These are completely normal. And as long as you don't say too many of them, um, it's not awkward to say or ah. Now, I said a phrase that's actually quite helpful. You're putting me on the spot here. Putting me on the spot means, oh, I'm going first. Okay, well, putting me on the spot means I'm kind of in the spotlight. It's all the attention is directed on me, and I'm a little surprised. Ooh, putting me on the spot here, Mark. I didn't know I was going to go first. This is a common way that native speakers also try to give ourselves a moment to think. Ooh, haha, surprised me a little. That's okay. Putting me on the spot here. No. Well, I'm Kat. So if you don't know where to start talking about yourself, just say your name, right? I usually think when I'm thinking about introducing myself, name, what I do for work, my hometown, and my interests. That's kind of the basic topics that we've gone over today. So hopefully these will help you as well. Well, I'm Kat. Hi, everybody. It is pretty common to kind of wave hi to the group or say, hey guys, I'm Kat. Hi, everyone. Yeah. So, Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Where do I start? I'm Mark. Hello. So that was the first part of my answer. Just like Kat mentioned, I'm using as a filler to give myself a few extra seconds to think. Where do I start? Where do I start is a useful phrase when you say, tell us about yourself. I think of so many things. There's a lot of different topics and ideas that come to mind. Give me a second to choose one. Where do I start? Sounds like I have so many interesting things to say. It's difficult to know where. But, where do I start? Okay, my name. That sounds like a good place to start. I'm Mark. Hello. So, yeah, you might be in a work group, you might be in a new job, you might be in a new English class, and the teacher, to help the students get to know each other, might say, tell us a bit about yourself. That means we want to hear the list that Kat mentioned. Where are you from? What do you do? What are you interested in? Or what have you studied at school? So tell us a bit about yourself, or tell me a bit about yourself if you're talking one-on-one, is a really good question to get to know somebody quite quickly. And it can be a little bit of a scary question, even for native speakers. There is a similar phrase, which is slightly different. Introduce yourself. If I ask you to introduce yourself, I think I'm really only interested in your name and maybe your job. So if I say, let me introduce myself. My name's Mark. I'm an English teacher. That's it. I don't want to share anymore. Yeah. So introduce yourself, I find, is more professional. It's more direct and to the point. So let me introduce myself. My name's Mark. But tell me a bit about yourself. I want a little bit more. Tell me what you like. Tell me where you're from. Tell me these extra details. So if you want a short answer, introduce yourself. If you want more info, tell us about yourself. So one of the things Kat mentioned is to say where you're from. So what did you say in your script? Where are you from originally?
Let's see. This is another kind of filler phrase that we can use when I'm thinking, okay, I did my name. Now what? Let's see. Let's see. Another good set of fillers where we're thinking. Yes. So I'm originally from Texas, born and raised in Houston. Some of my family still lives there, but I moved away after college. I like this word originally because when you meet English speakers, they might not be living in their hometown. They might be living in a new country. You might be living in a new country. You know, you moved from another country to an English speaking country. Where are you from originally? Originally. It's more than just where are you from. I mean, where were you born, right? Where did you live as a child? Where are you from originally? I'm originally from Texas, or I'm from Texas originally. Both of those work. Born and raised in Houston. Now, I'll ask Mark if he uses this phrase as well, born and raised. That sounds like a very Texan, very south of the United States thing to say. Yeah, what do you think,
Yes,
Mark?
it sounds like you're wearing a cowboy hat and you're on a horse. And you're like,
Yeah.
born and raised. Yeah,
Hmm.
I have to do an American accent to say it. It's
Yeah.
not something we say in the UK. No.
Yeah. Born and raised in Houston. What I love about this phrase is honestly, it brings people from the South together. I really do feel like when someone says, yeah, I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, that's fantastic to hear. I'm from Houston. So it's a fun phrase and that's quite nice, but again, quite American. Definitely even in the South, like Mark said, a little cowboy hat. There's nothing wrong with saying it with other Americans. It's a great phrase. I think so personally. So some of my family still lives there. Some of my family still lives there. Now, remember that if we live there, if we're from there originally, we don't live there now, right? So I'm originally from Texas, but I don't live there anymore, right? Some of my family still lives there. They haven't moved, they still live there, but I moved away after college. So I moved away. So when you move away, you leave your hometown, okay? Some people move. I moved apartments, right? So I was in one apartment. I went across the city. I moved into a new apartment. But when we say I moved away, that really sounds like you left the city, left the country, left your family. Oh, it's a little sad, but that's okay. Sometimes bigger and better things are out there. So I moved away after college. College is a very common term for Americans for university. So you can use university or college. That means the same thing. That would be post high school, after high school study and graduating from college. So I'll put it all back together. Let's see. So I'm originally from Texas, born and raised in Houston. Some of my family still lives there, but I moved away after college. All right, Mark, what about you? Where are you from originally?
I'm from the UK, from a small town just about 40 minutes east of London. So I'm from the UK. That's nice and simple. You notice that Kat and I, in both of our answers, we started big and then went smaller.
That's a good
So
point.
Texas,
Mm-hmm.
Houston, the UK, from a small town just about 40 minutes east of London. So generally we start big and then zoom in to a specific town or a specific city. A lot of people have not heard of my hometown. It's quite small. So I use London as a reference point. If I say my hometown, Colchester, nobody knows what that is. If you know the football team, I'm very impressed when other people know it. But yeah, so generally I use a bigger city as a reference. So just about 40 minutes east of London. So using the time, this is by train or by car, it's about the same. So you can say 30 minutes north of London, 30 minutes south of London, 2 hours west of London. Using any big capital city around you is a nice, easy reference point if you're not from a major city like I am. My original script says, I'm from the UK. Another phrase that I could have used is, I grew up in the UK. This is more similar to Kat's sentence, I'm originally from Texas. When I hear originally, I understand that she's not there now. Same for my phrase, I grew up in the UK. That sounds like I'm not there anymore. One reason is because that's the past tense. I grew, so it's finished and it's stopped. It's also true because I'm an adult, and grow up is from a child to a young adult. So I grew up there. If I was still there, I might say I'm from the UK. That could mean I'm there now or I left. But I grew up in the UK means I left. I'm not there anymore. So that's another way you can say that you've moved without saying it directly. All right, so next point. You've got your name, where you're from. Next, what do you do?
I like this question. What do you do? Because it means what's your job, right? If you're out kind of enjoying yourself and someone says, "So, Kat, what do you do?" Oh, for work or for fun? For work or for fun? Most people, when they ask me that, I say both. Which one? Which one do you want to talk about? Now, we're talking about our jobs. So, what do you do? It makes sense that someone's asking me about my job. So, let's listen to the grammar here. I've worked as an English teacher for students learning English as a second language for about 12 years now. Wow, has it really been that long? So, I've worked as a teacher. I have worked as a teacher. Why are we using this grammar? Because if you listen to the end of the sentence, for about 12 years now. So I've worked as a teacher for about 12 years now. If I said I worked as a teacher, just two words, I worked, then that's finished, right? I'm not a teacher anymore. But I have worked, I've worked as a teacher means I have and I do now at the same time. So I've worked as a teacher for 12 years. Let's see. Another way that we could say that, I've been a teacher for 12 years. I've worked as a teacher. I've been a teacher for 12 years. Now, when I talk about me being a teacher, I am not a certified English teacher for my home country. I teach English as a second language. Mark will mention it as well, ESL. And English as a second language is a special type of English. It's going to be different than teaching English to native speakers. Then, we would probably learn writing, reading novels, literature, Shakespeare, things like that in school. But English as a second language, you learn something way more fun, especially if you're joining high-level listening. We'll talk about daily life, vocabulary, grammar, and interesting things to talk about, not just to learn the literature or the history of the language. So I've worked as a teacher for about 12 years now. Sometimes I find that every time I have to introduce myself, which is maybe a couple of times a year, I think, wow, has it really been that long? Has it really been that long? Meaning I'm surprised. 12 years. That's a long time. I'm even
And then you
surprised
count again.
hearing it myself. Yeah.
Like
Has
12,
it been that
12,
long?
12.
Has it really been that long? Oh man, when was the last time we saw each other? 2 years ago. Has it really been that long? Are you sure? Wow, time flies. So, Mark, what about you? What do you do?
I work as an ESL teacher, and I've been doing that since 2012. So a good phrase if you want to introduce your job, I work as a, and then the title of your job. So my job title is ESL teacher. I work currently as an ESL teacher. Like I work as an engineer. I work as a software developer. So I work as an ESL teacher. EL is the acronym for English as a second language. If you want to find English materials on your own, if you want to search in Google or YouTube ESL materials, ESL classes, you might find some useful stuff. This is an ESL class, an ESL channel, because we're teaching our students English and it's not their native language, it's their second language. Like Kat, I'm also using the present perfect. Kat used it to say, I've worked as a teacher for 12 years. I said since 2012. Since is the starting point, and that's when I started. I started in 2012, and I'm still teaching now, so I have been teaching since 2012. In my script, I said, I've been doing that. This is actually the present perfect continuous. Like I'm teaching every day. I'm seeing students 5 days a week. It's every month. It's a little bit every day. I've been doing that. So doing that is also a phrase I want you to take away. This is a really good question to talk about someone's job. I've been doing that. This is a replacement for saying, I've been working as an ESL teacher. I've been doing that is just 2 words and it's much easier. It's also great as a question. If you're talking to someone, what do you do? They say, oh, I'm an accountant. Oh, how long have you been doing that?
Hmm.
It's a great follow-up question.
It
Doing
is.
that. It's about your work. Oh, do you enjoy doing that? How long have you been doing that? Like, oh,
I
I've been doing that since 2012.
I really like that one as well because sometimes it's hard to describe your job, and then it's even harder for someone else to understand your job. So to be polite, I might say, "Oh, well, I don't really know much about that." About that. How long have you been doing that? I want to keep up with the conversation, but I'm not exactly sure what you do or if I can even repeat it. So, oh, how long have you been doing that is the perfectly polite way to keep the conversation going.
Yes, right. That's my sister's job. I actually don't know what she does.
No idea.
I know she's in an office doing something, but
Yeah,
if she tells me, I'm like, oh, okay.
yeah.
Do you enjoy doing that? Because I have
Yeah,
no
she's
idea what
been
she
doing
really does.
that for 10 years, you know?
So back to you, Kat. Did you always want to be a teacher?
Ooh, I really like this question because some people have very interesting jobs, and I want to know a little bit more about, about them, right? So, did you always want to be a teacher? Did you always want to be an engineer? Did you always want to be? It's kind of like from a little kid, I always wanted to be an astronaut, right? So, did you always want to be a teacher? Funny enough, I actually went to school for marketing. When? I don't know. All those years ago. So we don't have to be too specific about the time, all those years ago. But I kind of had a career shift when I realized I was much more passionate about teaching. So, funny enough, actually, you'll be surprised to hear I'm kind of shifting the conversation because no, I didn't always want to be a teacher. I actually went to school for marketing. That's not teaching at all. I wouldn't say it's the opposite, but I went to school for business. I went to school for marketing. I went to school for engineering all those years ago. But I kind of had a career shift, a career shift. So we have a mind shift. It's where we're changing things. So a career shift means that we are changing what we're doing as a career. A career is a long time job or a long time position, right? I'm a teacher. And so I want to be a teacher for the next 20 years, right? This is my career, not just a job. It's my career. But when I started, I actually went to school for marketing, but I kind of had a career shift when I realized, oh, idea. Oh my gosh, I didn't know before, I know now, when I realized I was much more passionate about teaching. So some people have career shifts for a lot of different reasons. Maybe they go to school and it's fun in school, and you get to the real world and it's terrible. Maybe you can't find a job in what you went to school in, right? So you might have gotten a history degree and you go out and you think, not a lot of great jobs for history. Not as fun as I thought it was going to be. So you had a career shift, a career shift. And I was much more passionate about teaching, not marketing. All right. So what about you,
So,
Mark? Did you?
what?
Yes.
Sorry, one quick question about your script. You said I went to school for marketing. School? Do you mean like elementary school, high school? What what level of school is that?
Well, in kindergarten, I learned marketing. So
Yes, of course. Yeah,
but you're
like
right.
usual.
Oh, I went to college, I went to university, I went to school. I went to school for something. When you go to school for something, it's usually college and it's usually to study a major, right? So a major or a minor, that's your big subject, big topic that you learn. So I went to school for this. I said, I want to study marketing, so I went to school for marketing. Great question, though. So, what about you, Mark? Did you always want to be a teacher?
Ask me this one.
Oh, sorry. I'm literally only looking in my column.
Oh, okay.
So, Mark, do you enjoy teaching?
I still love doing it. It's taken me to so many amazing places, and I've been able to meet a lot of wonderful teachers and students along the way. So, Kat mentioned career. Yes, our careers have been 12 years long so far. I've been doing it since 2012, and 12 years is a long time. Maybe after some time you start to get a little bit bored or run out of challenges, but that's not the case for me. I still, after 12 years, still love doing it. I'm going to use the present perfect again. It has taken me to so many amazing places, and I've been able to meet a lot of wonderful teachers and students along the way. Again, my career as a teacher is not finished, so it has taken. If my career was finished, it took me and
Mhm.
I met, but I'm still doing it and I still enjoy it. So it has taken me. It is maybe a strange phrase to say my job has taken me. If you
Yeah.
need to travel for your job, if you need to move to different cities, or you have the chance to visit other countries with your job, we say, my job takes me there. Generally, this is a positive thing. If you enjoy exploring new cities and getting to visit new places because of work, maybe you go for conferences, you go for workshops, you have to meet clients in other places. Yeah, it takes you there. And I mean this in a positive way as well. It's taken me to so many amazing places, and I've been able to meet a lot of wonderful teachers and
Mm.
students along the way. I've been able to is I can, I could, but because it's the present perfect, I've been able to
Mhm.
visit many cities. I've been able to meet lots of wonderful teachers. So yes, I still love doing it. So back to you, Kat. What places have you been to or lived in?
I've sort of lived all over France, New Zealand, South Korea. And although I used to teach mainly in schools, I've been teaching online for a number of years now. Okay. So, this is a good way if you've moved around a lot. This is a very common phrase to use. I've lived all over. I've lived all over. We could use I've lived all over the world. I've lived all over the United States. I've lived all over Texas. So it just depends on the region, right? So if you've moved around a lot, I've sort of lived all over France, New Zealand, South Korea. Now, remember that this is conversational English. Sometimes we're just going with your train of thought here. Oh, yeah, I've moved all over New Zealand, France, South Korea. So I'm just thinking of things. I'm not really giving you a full sentence. That's not really grammatically correct. I'm just starting to tell you these places. And although I used to teach mainly in schools, I've been teaching online for a number of years now. So let's look at some of the grammar and some of the vocabulary here. Although I used to teach mainly in schools, so despite the fact, or although I used to teach mainly in schools, I don't anymore. All right. I used to, but now I don't. I used to teach mainly in schools, but I've been teaching online for a number of years now. So we've got this word although. If I said it in a different way, I used to teach in schools, but I've been teaching online. Although I used to teach in school, I've been teaching online. So we can use although at the beginning of the sentence or but in the middle of the sentence. So you can use it either way, but only use one. Don't use both of them. I've been teaching online for a number of years now. I don't know how long, maybe 6 years, maybe 8, maybe 10. for a number of years, whatever that number is, for a number of years now. All right. What about you, Mark? What places have you been to? What places have you lived in?
I was lucky enough to spend most of my 20s in Asia and Eastern Europe. I made the jump to online teaching a while ago. I've been living in Mexico for the last few years, although, of course, I still pop back and visit the UK when I can. So there's a small change in my grammar. My first sentence was, I was lucky enough to spend most of my 20s in Asia and Eastern Europe. So if you're listening carefully, I was, that's the past simple. So that's finished. That's finished because I'm not in my 20s anymore. So the 20s finished, so I was lucky. Most of my 20s are the years when I was in my 20s, from 20 years old to 29. That period is my 20s. From 30 to 39, I'm in my 30s now. So my 20s are finished. So I was lucky enough to spend most of my 20s in Asia and Eastern Europe. Like Kat, I'm not going to list every single one because it sounds a bit boastful, arrogant, and a bit boring for other people. So just Asia and Eastern Europe, the general area. Then another thing changed. I made the jump to online teaching a while ago. Two things here. I made the jump means I changed career or I changed position. I was teaching in schools, then I made the jump to online teaching. Jump also has a little bit of risk or uncertainty. If you have to jump when you make that change, you don't know if it's going to work or not. Is this a terrible idea? I don't know. But you commit, you try, you make the jump. So if you do something or change in your career and it's a little bit scary, you don't know if it will work, you make the jump. Another thing, I said a while ago. So that's a time in the past, a finished time. So I made the jump a while ago. I did that a while ago. I started a while ago. Then, changing tense. I've been living in Mexico for the last few years. So back to the present perfect continuous. I'm here in Mexico now, and I've been living here for the last few years. For the last few years is a duration of time. The last few could be 3, 4 years. For the last few years. So that's where I am now. Although, of course, I still pop back and visit the UK when I can. We've covered this word in a previous episode. This is more common in the UK. Pop back. If you pop back, then I visit quickly. If I pop into the shop, I'm there for 5 minutes. If I pop into the bank, again, I'm there for a short time. If I pop back home to the UK, I'm probably there for 1 week or 2 weeks, which is still relatively short. So I can say pop back. I go back and visit the UK when I can. All right, final question. What do you like to do for fun?
Nowadays, I still teach, but I'm still very much into traveling, cooking, learning new languages, meeting new people, and stuff like that. Okay, enough about me. So, Mark asked me, what do you like to do for fun? This is a much more common question than saying something like, what do you do in your free time? What are you interested in? These are great textbook questions, but I would probably say, what do you like to do for fun? What do you like to do for fun? A lot of those words get really small. What do you like to do for fun? What do you like to do for fun? So, I see a lot of my students saying things like recently. I would probably go for nowadays, or nowadays meaning I told you about my past. This is what's happening right now. So nowadays I still teach. So the word still means I'm continuing to teach. I still teach, but I'm still very much into traveling. I'm into traveling. That means I like to do these things. I'm still very much into traveling. cooking, learning new languages, meeting new people, and stuff like that. Sometimes when you start to list things and you're just talking out loud, this and oh, well, this and oh my goodness, stuff like that. Stuff like that. Like, I don't need to list every single thing that I do for fun. Just stuff like that. Okay, well, I've talked enough. Enough about me. Okay. Enough about me. I'm talking too much. Sorry about that. Enough about me. Mark, what do you like to do for fun?
In my free time, I like reading, computer games, motorsports, and traveling to new places, which sometimes go hand in hand. That's about it, really. Okay, so both of our scripts here, both of our lists are using gerunds. I like reading, traveling. Kat said traveling, also cooking, learning, meeting. So we want to focus on the activity itself. So when you're listing what you like to do for fun or your hobbies, it'll probably be a gerund. I like traveling, learning, studying, watching TV. For me, I like reading, computer games, or video games. Motorsports, like Formula One, motorbikes, and traveling to new places. These two, motorsports and traveling, sometimes go hand in hand. So sometimes I can do both at the same time, or they're two good hobbies that go together. They go hand in hand. They work very well together. The motorsports I like go to different cities and sometimes different countries to race. So I can go to the race and it's a good excuse to visit a new country while I'm there. So yeah, I've been to lots of different cities and other countries just to watch motorsports. So it's a great excuse. They go hand in hand. And that's about it, really. I'm finished. I don't want to talk anymore. I think I've already said a lot. If I kept going, I think I would start to bore other people, and they probably don't want to hear it. So I can't think of any more to say. That's about it, really. It's a phrase you can use in conversations. I often recommend this one in IELTS. If you're doing the IELTS speaking test, the part 2 long story, and your story finishes, you can say, that's about it, really. And everyone listening knows that that's the end. You're not going to say any more.
All right. Well, that's it, really. So there you have it. Some really useful and authentic vocabulary and grammar to help you introduce yourself. See if you can use some of the new phrases that you learn in this video to practice with us. What was your favorite phrase from this episode? Did you learn any new grammar? Were there any words or phrases that were new for you? Let us know in the comments below. We read and reply to every single one, and we love to hear from you guys.
Yes, we do. Please introduce yourself to us in the comments. What do you do? Where are you from originally? How long have you been doing that? It's a great chance for you to practice. Don't forget, you can also get the PDF transcript of today's episode with all of our other scripts from all our other episodes as well in a downloadable file that you can take offline and study in your own way. Click the link in the description below to join us as a member.
Thank you so much, everyone. We will see you very soon for our next video.